Okay, so we are AR artifacts based off our game Cartifacts. I'm with Michael Harrison and me, Charles Carey. We are making an AR game in Unity with Euphoria.
So the idea is that our game, it's a card game. We've shown it before. Um, so you collect cards in the game, and eventually you use the cards to as powers within the game. So our plan is that you'll be able to buy packs at Kmart or something like that, and you'll open the pack, and then there'll be cards in them, and they're going to be AR cards. So if you have a phone, you'll be able to use your camera to look at the card, and something like a tornado would pop up, and you'll be able to see it spin around, and you'll be able to connect it to your actual account in the game and use that type of card with with it.
Okay, so we went with Euphoria, and that was partly because of Pat's presentation, for the first project where he compared the different AR engines, and it seemed like Euphoria was great for image targeting, and that's what we're going. That's our objective. And also, Unity is partnered with Euphoria, so it's really easy, especially if you're familiar with Unity. So yeah.
So Vuforia has several different features that can be used in AR. The sample from the asset store actually has a scene for every single case. So there's model targets, image targets, a few different other ones. Um, and we'll talk about a few.
So model targets. Essentially, you can create a 3D model, and it will project that data onto an actual 3D object in world space. Yeah.
So our game, we're actually using image targets. That's the scene that we're taking from the sample. And image, it tracks the features that are found on the image. So in our tornado, our whirlwind, it grabs all the edges and it actually looks for the text, which this is all generated by the Vuforia website itself when you insert the image on there. And once it's detected, you'll be able to move the image around, and it will follow where the image is, allowing you to put things on top of it very easily.
And cylindrical targets. I could see this being pretty useful for maybe advertising companies for on products and stuff like soda or whatever in this image. But it's just essentially image targeting around a curved surface, which I guess needs to be a different use case, a different case for Euphoria.
So there's boo marks, which our plan for the third part of this project was to make it so that every card has a unique instance. So like there'll be millions of versions of this card, and there'll be an ID on each and every one. We actually found out that from this project right here is that Buforia already does this. They have their own feature for it, and it it takes pieces of the card. Well, you would have to design each one so that there are different instances, different identifiers on the card. Like, for example, on the card, all the dots. Basically, it's kind of like what's it called?
QR.
A QR code. Oh, that's it.
So our goal for the game is for our goal for this project anyways is we create a phone app that can scan a photo or a card, and it will play the 3D animation that's in our game, the equivalent of that card, on top of the actual card real real space. So we'll actually be playing this animation effect here on top of a card.
So the experience we had with working with AR at the school, it wasn't that great. So every single time we needed to download something, this would pop up saying that we needed admin access. So for a new version of Unity, for before your AR support, after you download that, then you need to update it, which, okay, you need admin access again. Then, since you're building to an Android, you'll need some support from Unity for that. And you'll also need Android Studio and Android SDK tools. Each one needs admin access to download. And there are many other optional things like trying to put your phone as a webcam and just basically we had to use our personal computers for this project. Otherwise, we'd be bothering Scott all day, which we didn't really want to do.
Okay. And some tips that we learned. Yeah, make sure your device you're testing on is supported, because we kept trying and trying to figure out why it wasn't working on Mike's phone. Turns out too old, not supported. And then another one is, if you have a webcam, especially if you have a decent webcam, test on the webcam. It's an HD webcam that you can move around is essentially the same thing. You don't need to build to your phone every time, which takes a very long time, and you have to reinstall every time. So I recommend a webcam. And also, this stuff is new. There's not much documentation on it, and don't expect to find answers to your problems very easily. A lot of people are having similar issues that we had with no solutions.
So, final thoughts before we show you what we have. Once you get everything working, everything's really easy to use. You really don't have to actually code at all once our struggles were just getting everything prepared and installed with a working phone, working Unity. But the thing about this tool is that it's good for designers to use for whatever they're going to make, games, apps like ours, but programmers should be able to take advantage of it and make something great with it. So the plan for the rest of the presentation is to give a brief instruction of how to do this. Since there wasn't much coding involved, it's just going to be a step through after you get everything installed from before the Android SDK, the Android build, before your AR. So what do you do once you get all those done? How to make a tornado go onto a card.
Okay, so I'm gonna start out with an empty project here, and what we need to do. This project already has Android build support and already has Vuforia kit downloaded and everything. So empty project. We're gonna go to the asset store and download the core samples that Unity recommends for Vuforia. I already have them downloaded, so I'm just showing. But once those are downloaded and imported in your project, you can go to the sample resources that they give you to go to and find the scene of the type of project you want to do. In our case, it's image targets. So I'm going to go to the image target scene, and I'm going to steal the AR camera and one of their image target objects. I'm just going to copy that and bring that into our example scene. It's kind of hard to make those from scratch because they hide a lot of the scripts actually. But so I'm just renaming that to image target, and I'm gonna change the world center mode, which is pretty much just target mode, and the world center, which is essentially our target. I'm gonna change the center mode to specific target because we're not looking for multiple anymore, like that scene we took it from. And I'm gonna drag in our image target. And so from here, we need to create a target database on the Vuforia website. So you need to make a Vuforia account, which if you downloaded the SDK, you probably already have, and you go to your target manager and add a database. I'm just gonna have a example one made, and you're gonna add a target, and look for the image you want to use. In our case, it's one of these cards. And here, you need to add the width, which is, since our card is 825 pixels, and we have 100 pixels per unit in our Unity scene, we're going to do an 8.25 width, and that should work fine. It needs to be a JPEG, but I already have one uploaded. So here's the whirlwind I have uploaded, and that passed with 4 out of 5 stars. Before it automatically rates it for how good it is, and it gives us all these marking points for our most contrasted point. So once you download the database, download it for Unity, it'll give you just your classic Unity package. And so we can not import asset, but import new package into our scene, a custom package, and locate that package. I already have one downloaded with the right database. So now, and it's right there, image targets was the name of it. So now we can go to our image target object in the scene, and in that target we can change database from Euphoria Mars image to image targets and tornado. And we can get rid of the models that I took from the other scene, and now we can just put in our own model on top of this. So our artist in our senior project made a model, and we're just going to steal his, throw it on our tornado. This is the model directly from our game. Oh, it's not. You gotta center it, and then you can animate it or do whatever you want, and it should show up. And I'll show you an example of it working. So I'm going to move over to a little video me and Mike shot of it working on one of the school's example phones. Here it is. And you can see, if you look closely, you can see the animation moving around, the animation of the tornado moving around on the piece of paper on the phone. And yeah, that works pretty much right out of the box. No, don't really need to code anything. Just make sure all your settings are right, and it should work fine.